and welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we are introducing our brand new stamp set, Jump for Joy and its coordinating dies. This is one of my favorite sets ever. I absolutely love it, so let's go ahead and stamp it out. First we have this cute little hedgehog, a fun fox, and an adorable owl. We also have a pile of leaves, which is perfect for the critters to jump in, a rake for those leaves, a little acorn, a leaf in both large and small and open. And then we have these great tree branches which are really nice for setting the scene, both directions, and then solid versions of those leaves in both large and small. We also have all of these little smiley faces, which are so fun because you can add them to the leaves. And if you put them in all of the leaf pile, it is adorable. And we have different sizes in these, both large and small, depending on which leaf you're using. We have a cute little heart. And then great sentiment. So we have Jump for Joy and all of these things that work with it. It's your birthday, it's a happy day, and fall is here. And then we have So Thankful, and then we have For Your Kindness, and That We're Friends to go along with the So Thankful, which I just love it. And then we have this great You Did It sentiment too, which goes really well with Jump for Joy. We also have two sizes of exclamation points. Now I'm going to be using my Copic markers to color in these fun images. I'm making the hedgehog darkest towards the outside and then lightest towards the middle. And I'm kind of coloring into the little spikes there, but leaving the top of the spikes blank so you can still see them on the outside of that dark brown. I'll continue to blend those in and then start working on his little face there. Now I'm going to add shadow wherever there's curves, so underneath his chin, around his feet, and under his arms, and then I'll blend those shadows out, and that gives him a nice little three-dimensional kind of look. These are my two favorite colors for foxes. It's kind of got an oranginess to it, but it still has brown in it too. And I just think foxes looks really great in this color. So once again, I'm adding darkness all around the curve. So around the leg, on the back of the leg, at the bottom of the tail, and then just blending those out with my light marker. I'm using a very, very light brown for the fox just to not leave his face and tail blank, but give it a little color. And now it's time to work on the owl. So this time I'm adding all the darkness kind of towards his face and then blending the light out. And then I'll use the same colors I used for the hedgehog for his body too. I just love that E34, E31. It's some of my favorite markers. I'm always having to refill them. Now it's time to work on the leaf pile, and this is really fun because you can choose what color leaves depending kind of where we are in the fall season. So in this case I'm adding a little bit of green leaves and then oranges and yellows, but you could just do reds, orange, yellows, and brown to make it kind of look more towards later fall. So you can really play around with it and have a lot of fun. And then I'm using the leaves as my guide for the shading. So I'm adding shading when the leaf is kind of covered by another leaf, and that's kind of telling me where to put my shade in there. I'll color in the rake, and now all of my images are colored and ready for die cuts. So I can bend them apart at those tabs or use my wire snips to separate all of my dies. Then I'm going to line them up with my images, hold them in place with some low tack tape, the Post-it note tape, which is my favorite. Then I'm going to run it through my die cut machine, and now my favorite part is the big reveal. So I'm going to take that tape off and all of my images will be perfectly cut. I love looking at them all cut out at the end. And so here you can see all of the fun images from this set. And now it's time to make a card with it. So I'm going to be using the portrait leafy tree backdrop. I've cut out a bunch of leaves and some fall colors and a little tree backer there, which I'm going to use in a second. And then here's my grassy hillside die. I'm cutting some noble fir cardstock and a little cloud frame there too. Now I want to stamp my sentiment before I start building the whole card because I want to make sure that there aren't things in my way, but I'm going to use all of my stamps there as a guide as to where I want to place my stamp. Then I'm going to pick it up with my mini Misty here, and then I'm going to remove all of those pieces so I can stamp my sentiment before I start to build the scene. And I'm stamping it in some walnut ink, which is my favorite brown. Now here I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere my little tree backer there onto my tree, which is going to give the tree its leaves. And it's got this awesome stitch detail to it. Just really adds so much to this tree frame die. So there you can see how cool that is. And next I want to have this floating cloud. So I'm adding just a little bit of glue to the edges of this puffy cloud frame. And then I'm going to glue it in between the frame and that tree base there. And so that's going to hold it in place, but give it the illusion of kind of that it's floating in air. Now I wasn't sure how tall to make my grass, so I decided to line it up exactly where I would want it and then draw pencil lines around and then line those pencil lines up in my paper trimmer. And that's giving me my perfect grass for this scene. So I'll adhere that grass down, and then I'm going to use some foam roll tape here to tape my frame up. So I'm going to cut really thin strips, that way I can put them on this kind of nice thin frame. That's one of the reasons I love foam tape, is I can just cut them into nice thin little pieces. Get a bunch of tape on there, peel off all of those backers, and now by adding foam behind this frame, it kind of gives some dimension to it and it really makes that cloud look like it's floating. I think it looks so cool. Now right here is when I realized I forgot to put my fox behind the tree. So I lifted up my tree there and tucked him behind to kind of make him look like he's sneaking out from behind the tree. And then now it's time to build the rest of my scene. Now this card is inspired by a card by my friend Jessica that was just so gorgeous, and I had to make my own version of it. I just fell in love with it. So here I'm going to add all those little leaves so they're kind of like flying off from him as he lands in the leaf pile. And I'm going to create a standard size card base, 5.5 by 4.25, make it a nice top fold, crease that down really well, and then I want to stamp something on the inside. Now this is one of my favorite things about this set, is the Jump for Joy sentiment can go with so many different types of things. So normally what I would do is leave the inside blank until I needed the card and then stamp the "It's your birthday" or the "You did it" or "It's a happy day," etc. And I can have a card for any type of occasion, which I love. Now next I'm going to use some glue dots to put those cute little leaves on there to make it look like a fall tree. And now you can see the card is all done, and we've got the "It's your birthday" sentiment on the inside, and it's just so fun and sweet. It just makes my day. Now next up, I wanted to make a slider card with this set. So I'm going to start off here with a stitched rectangle, and I'm going to cut some white cardstock and do some ink blending for my sky. So I'm starting with peacock feathers. I'm starting off of the paper and then going onto it to build that color up. So I'm going to start off and on and keep building that color up here. You can see in super fast motion. And now I'm switching to tumbled glass to make it really light towards the top and really make it look like a nice ombre sky. And you can do that with just 2 colors by just continuing to build that ink up over and over again. Next, I wanted to do a leaf pile this time with reds, yellows, and browns. I used the same reds and yellows and oranges from before and added the E31 and E34 for my browns. I die cut a bunch of little leaves, and now I'm going to start working on the base of my card. So I've used that same stitched rectangle to cut some noble fir cardstock, and I used the Jump for Joy stamp as a little placeholder there to know where to place my grass. I die cut my grass. I'm using my EK Success powder tool there to make sure that none of my embossing powder sticks anywhere but the Versamark Jump for Joy that I just stamped. So I'll add some white embossing powder and then set it with my heat tool to get a nice, bold, shiny white sentiment. Now I need to decide where my slide on over die is going to go. So I'm going to put everything in place where I want it to be, and that's going to tell me where this die needs to be so that my hedgehog can kind of roll down into these leaves. So now once I finally get a good placement, then I'll use some Post-it note tape to hold it in place so that I can die cut it in my die cut machine. Once I have that track all die cut, I can start adhering all of the pieces of my card. So I'm going to take that grass layer there and add that on the bottom. And then with just some tape runner there, add my fall leaf right to the bottom of that track. Now I'm going to take some of this foam roll tape and triple it up. I always like using triple foam for my sliders. I feel like they just work really well with that nice height of the foam. Now that I've tripled it up, I'm going to cut it into thirds because I just need nice little skinny pieces. I'm going to lay my penny there on that track as a guide as to where my foam needs to go, because I want to make sure that that foam doesn't get in the way of the movement of my penny. So now I'm going to put more little foam pieces down and then put more foam all the way around, once again where it's not going to hit the penny, but it's going to give the card some nice stability. Now I want my hedgehog to spin, which means I'm going to use a circle-shaped foam dot. And I'm actually going to do triple foam dots here too, because I want to make sure he has enough height up off the card to really spin well. Now next up is my friend Rebecca's trick, and that is to use the EK Success powder tool to remove any tack that might be around the outside edges of that foam. The powder will stick to it and remove any tackiness that might still be there. And then also take that powder tool and run it in the track. Something about that powder kind of helps the penny move really fast in the track. Then I can put the penny behind the track and then put the hedgehog right in front and adhere those together. And then I've taken another piece of cardstock that I've ink blended the same exact way as the front of the card to put behind the card. And by doing that, it kind of makes the track disappear some. So I'm going to peel off all of that liner tape on that foam and line those up there, just like that. As you can see, the track kind of disappears into that sky. And then I'm going to shake it to really get that penny and that foam sliding really well in that track. And here I just wanted to show you, if you didn't have any circle foam dots, you can cut your tape into a circle too, and that works just as well. Now it's time to adhere a bunch of leaves into the sky, because I really want it to look like he landed in the pile and like leaves went everywhere, and I think it looks really fun. And I'll add that last one, and then I'm going to take some paper from the Perfectly Plaid Fall collection. This might be one of my favorite papers from the collection. Trim that down. And I've got a card base here that is 5 1/4 by 4. Fold that, add my pattern paper to the front, and then I can add a ton of tape to my whole slider mechanism here and adhere that, and that pattern paper is going to give it just a nice little frame just to finish off the card. Now here is a look at him sliding in the card, and it is just too cute. And then here, we're going to go ahead and twist him. And because there's that circular foam, he can spin in that track. And I just cannot get over how cute this is. And I really hope that this card would really make someone's day. Also, I want to thank my awesome friend Kristen for this really cool slider card idea. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I cannot wait to see your Jump for Joy cards. Oh my gosh, I just am so excited about it. So thank you so much for watching and have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!